I've spent more than 14 years running multiple successful businesses that I've built from the ground up. Now I'm moving away from offering my expertise as a consultant to try to help people worldwide turn their dreams into a reality. So if you've ever wondered how to take your dreams, your goals, or anything else you've been heading towards and make them more than just thoughts in your head, this podcast will show you the way. Join me and many others like you as we explore the best tools, techniques and mindsets to make our dreams possible. My name is Chris Bark and welcome to the Make It Possible podcast.
Hey everyone, Chris Bark here, and today I want to talk to you about customer service and how you can give great customer service without the need for you or your members of staff to put all your time into giving it. So the way I'm going to explain it for you is I'm going to take you through an experience I had last week. So this time last week I was visiting a client down in Plymouth with my colleague Ben, and we were going to stay in a hotel. So we went about booking our hotel the same way I normally go about booking our hotels, which is through a site called booking.com. Now, I've done this hundreds of times because we quite regularly visit clients or we go to trade shows and things like that. So the normal experience is you make a booking on booking.com, you turn up at the hotel, and then you usually have to go through quite a big palaver to get yourself booked in, and then you go about having your experience. The way that the way our experience differed last week was we were staying at a hotel called Borrington Hall. Now, as soon as we made our booking on booking.com, we got our typical email off booking.com themselves, which basically says thanks for your booking and showing that the booking's confirmed. So that's fairly standard. But the way that it started to differ, so the way that they gave us really good customer experience was they took it a step further. So it was all automated at first. So they sent us another email straight away, which was an upsell email. What they did is they looked at our booking and they realised that we hadn't added breakfast. Now, the simple reason we hadn't added breakfast was it would be cheaper for us to add it at the hotel because we only had one person per room and it was a double room. So they were trying to bill us for 2 breakfasts, each one on booking.com. So they sent us this email, which was an instant upsell. So for the vast majority of people, they would have added breakfast then. We then, the day after, got another email. Now, this next email was basically explaining the hotel for us. It gave us a brief bit of history about the hotel. It gave us, obviously, confirmation of our booking. It explained what room we were in. So they'd already pre-allocated the room for us, which it's a nice thing to know before you go there. It makes you feel like it's actually been planned through. As well as that, they also give us the option of telling us cancellation policies. It's also telling us when their facilities are open, such as their bar or their spa, that there actually was at this hotel as well. So this was quite I know it was a corporate email, but it actually felt quite personal. It felt like they were trying to make our experience good before you got there. One other quick little thing on there was that they gave us access to your online concierge straight away here, which basically meant you could make contact with the person who was going to look after you when you got there to make your experience better. So those 3 points of contact there is more than you'll get off virtually any other hotel, certainly that I've experienced. So that was a really good way to start our experience of visiting the hotel. Now, to take you to the day when we actually visited the hotel, so to give you a little bit of background, we were travelling down from the Wirral, which is by Liverpool, down to Plymouth. So it's a 306-mile drive on a Monday morning. As you can imagine, it was a horrendous drive. It took us 7.5 hours to get there. Now, once we arrived, we then had to do a full day's work when we got there. So by the time we were getting to the hotel, it was nearly 9 o'clock at night. So we weren't probably weren't in the best of moods. We weren't massively enthusiastic about going to the hotel. But we managed to have a really good experience when we went in, because as soon as we went in, all the booking was already set up. Our rooms were already allocated. All they needed from us was a swipe of the credit card to be able to allow us to book stuff to the room. Now, they had a really helpful member of staff on reception who then went about taking us over to our rooms. So she walked us over to our rooms, offered to get someone to carry the bags, etc. So that's the first piece of human contact we'd had in the whole experience. The rest have been automated. Now, Other than that, everything else pretty much in the whole experience is going to be automated. But they took it a step further. So what they did is they managed to make our experience really good without necessarily doing a lot. So what they did is when we arrived into the actual hotel room, sitting there on our bed when we arrived in was a note from our concierge, which is basically a little yellow like postcard with a picture of the hotel we were staying in, and then a little note saying things like, good evening, we hope you're enjoying your time at Borringdon Hall, the enchanted place on the hill. It then tells us what the weather's going to be like for tomorrow. It gives us some history about the room we're staying in. And then, as well as that, it does an upsell there and then. It allows you to, it says that there are still spa appointments available for Tuesday and the slots are, and then gives you the ability to book them simply by calling reception. So it felt like a personal message. Now, I know it wasn't a personal message. I know that this postcard will have been printed, they'll have printed enough for every room, and they'll have been put on every bed every morning, basically, whenever housekeeping come in. As well as that, they also gave us some handmade lavender fudge that was put onto your bed, and some biscuits actually as well. Now they were done to try and make it so that you had a positive experience when you got there. When you eat that fudge, you instantly think that someone has actually thought about you and about how your experience is going to be. They're giving you a real personal experience without the need for it to be personal, essentially. What they've managed to do is they put that in every room, so everyone's getting the same experience. So they can do the work essentially once in creating the postcard and creating the little packets of fudge. But then every single person in the hotel feels like they've had a personal experience with the member of staff who's actually done it, or with the hotel itself. Now, day 2 was exactly the same. We got another little postcard telling us what the weather's going to be like the next day, as well as the ability to book spa treatments again, and giving us different history, which I'm sure is just on a rolling template. So every 7 days or so, they probably have, essentially they'll have 7 days worth of notes set up that they just literally copy and paste the weather onto it and press print. That's how I think they're doing it. Now, we were only actually staying for 2 nights. So on the morning of the day we checked out, we also had this posted underneath our door, which was like a customer experience, a survey, essentially. But this survey was a really clever little piece of marketing, because what it allowed them to do is it allowed them to fish for information that they could then use. I'm sure Booking.com have terms and conditions that say that the hotel itself can't contact you directly. So what they do is they capture the information separately, so then they can then use it. So they took name, address, email number, what room you stayed in, postcode and telephone number. So they've collected all the key pieces of information there and then. They ask you for your feedback for how good the stay you've had, so rating from 1 to 5 on everything from website to booking to reception to accommodation. They then also ask you your interests, so be it golf, gardening, walking, spa, music, food and wine, art or others. Whichever ones of those you tick, I'm sure you go into a separate database and you can get targeted separately. They then ask you very simple questions like, would you stay with us again, yes or no? If you answer no, I'm sure you go into a sequence whereby they try and find out why you had a bad experience. If you say yes, I'm sure they try and promote to you again. They ask, would you recommend us? Again, that's a conscious thing where they're trying to get you to give them a referral. So they basically want you to fill that in. Now, to go a little bit further from that, they then, when it comes to actual checkout, they ask you how your experience was again. And then they go about giving you a goodie bag to check out with. Now, this goodie bag essentially contains some water for your day. It contains the history of the hotel you've just stayed in, notes of future events that are coming up, as well as some biscuits for the day, or some shortbread for the day. Now, I've stayed in lots of hotels over my lifetime and over my business career. I don't think I've ever had it whereby I've been able to be given a goodie bag on the way out. This makes you feel instantly a connection to the hotel. It makes your experience all that better. It makes you basically feel like you've had a good time. And actually the hotel was exceptional anyway. It had a really good spa, it had a really good bar. So it was a really good experience. Before that, it just cemented that and made it feel better. Now, they then took it one step further. 3 or 4 days after we'd left, they sent us the same survey that we had before via email to try and get us to, one, rate them on booking.com so that they get good reviews. If they get good reviews, they know they get more bookings. And they want you to fill in the survey so they can capture your information. Now, all these things here that they've done are to try and get you to have a really good customer experience. The things like the fudge and the little postcards and stuff, they want you to share that on social media. I'm sure they want you to share your experience of the hotel and of the spa. They want you to tell other people about how good it was. They know if you have a really good experience, you will tell other people. And if you tell other people, they will want to visit the place. But you will also, because you've had a good experience, you will want to visit again. So what I want you to think about is how can you take what you've learned from what they've done and use it within your business. So think about it. The only points of contact we had with an actual human in the whole experience was the person on reception when we arrived and the person on reception when we left. That was it. They basically did everything else by automating processes. They automated their emails, so using probably an email autoresponder. They automated producing all these cards. I'm sure they produce one for every room every night. All they then have to do is get them put into each room, which they're doing anyway because they're doing housekeeping on the room. They automated the fudge production. That will be on site. That will be basically pre-prepared, and again, one will go in every room. So they automate all these things that then basically mean that the customer has a really personalised experience without the need for having humans involved in the situation and in the whole process. So therefore, think how you could use it. I use similar methods within my retail stores. I also use similar methods within this software business. We automate experiences. So when someone buys our system, they go into automated sequences of emails and postcards and letters and text messages, all trying to help them have a better experience with what we do. In my shop, when you buy, say, a rabbit hutch, you will automatically get given an email with a video on how to put that together, how to set it up right. Think about how you could use this within your businesses and then use it, basically. You want to be giving a really good personal experience without the need for having to pay staff to give it all the time. Once you automate it, once you've done the work once, it's done. It carries on working forever. So think how you can use it and put it into practice. Thank you.